The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm Antonio Perez, joined as always by my co-host, UPenn's finest, Danny Cole. We have another great episode for you guys today. Some coaching hires obviously just happened yesterday. Big hires: D'Amico Ryans, Sean Payton, Kellen Moore is now the OC in Los Angeles for the Chargers. And the Cowboys got a spot to fill. Obviously, be recapping Niners, Eagles, and Bengals versus Chiefs. And of course, we just want to take a moment to congratulate Tom Brady on an absolutely phenomenal career. I'm 100% sure he's probably staying absolutely retired this time. So he'll be back soon jokes are not funny at all. Seriously unfunny stuff. But yeah. Before we get into our favorite Brady moment, Danny, how are you doing today?
Man, Brady retiring is my summit. He gave me about 16 years of trauma. So him retiring is my summit.
Can't relate.
The Steelers would have 5 Super Bowls right now, 5 more if it wasn't for Tom Brady. So
yeah, congrats to Brady. But my plummet is actually going to be my favorite Tom Brady moment. Plummet for Brady, not really for me, but Brady losing to Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. Greatest moment of my life. And so Jalen Hurts beats Patrick Mahomes in 2 weeks. But Brady, he always says the Giants ones, they were earned. The Giants outplayed them. He said it's always the Eagles that gets him mad. Good. I'm glad.
I guess you can call it a summit or a plummet, the way you want to look at it. It's Brady coming back 28-3 in Super Bowl.
Absolute summit. Best game, best legacy game of his career. Because, I mean, if he doesn't win that one, what is he looking at? A full, assuming everything else plays out, well, to that point in his career, he would have 4 Super Bowl wins and 3 Super Bowl losses. Still, obviously,
you're looking like LeBron at that point.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, LeBron's still the GOAT. Brady's still the GOAT. But, I mean, it's not as beautiful as 5-2 up to that point. And then you get 6 2 years later. And then you get 7 2 years later. Yeah. My summit for Tom Brady would be going to Tampa Bay because after 20 years, I mean, someone could easily just, ride off into not necessarily the sunset. Game losing pick isn't, the sunset, but he spent 20 years in New England. You could anyone could have been like, I have nothing left to prove. Not him though. He went to Tampa and immediately took him to the Super Bowl and beat Patrick Mahomes, who was clearly the next GOAT in the NFL. So credit to him. He thought he had more in the tank and he decided to just keep chugging forward. And a lot of people would have just backed off, rode off into the sunset, which I'm not saying he necessarily did this year, but he stood his ground and kudos to him for that.
Yeah, definitely. It's insane that this man had a 23-year career.
23 years in the National Football League, regardless of what position you play.
That's longer than the time that we've been alive.
Yeah. Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl before I was alive. So, kudos to him. The one thing I'll not let him slide with is he was not supposed to go in the 6th round. Spurgeon Wynn was not supposed to go ahead of him. Chris Redman was not supposed to go ahead of him. Mark Bolger was not supposed to go ahead of him. The only person who logically was supposed to go ahead of Tom Brady that year was Chad Pennington. And he would have also had a really good career if he didn't have major shoulder surgery. So get that out of the way. Pick 199. He should have been picked in the 2nd or 3rd round. GMs are just stupid. So moving on to...
Yo, you know what you can say, though? Brock Purdy should have been picked a lot higher, too.
Absolutely, they just overthought it. Not to say he should have been first round QB1 of this draft. I still think
he's like QB3 of QB4 still, but
no, I mean I would say he's firmly quarterback 1 or 2 of this class. Obviously, in our current hindsight.
I'm saying looking back, I think he was probably definitely 3 or 4 or 5.
I think the first 5 guys were kind of just there, those were the 5 guys everyone was looking at. They kind of just overthought it. I hope Brock Purdy serves as an example. Like don't think about it too much, man. Like if you like a guy, just take him.
It's not going
But
to
he's
happen, man. Like Brady even had this. Brady had the size that Purdy didn't, and they overlooked him, man.
yeah, he was skinny, but he was 6'5", and Lloyd Carr, coach at Michigan at the time, like. Dude, like I want to keep Drew Henson around because I don't want him to leave and go play baseball. I'm like, dude, Tom's better. Like Tom was way better. Like Drew Henson was more of the athlete, but like, come on, let's get real. Like Brady was hitting like college quarterback. Dude's he's super raw. Like he just started playing in high school. Super raw, hitting guys on the sideline with 1 yard to separate. Like Brady in Michigan was like a beast. Like I refuse to let people just like let that go. Rode off into the sunset with Orange Bowl and then 6th round pick.
Too
Absolutely
bad
blown.
JJ McCarthy clears.
JJ McCarthy is he's one of the quarterbacks ever for sure. Definitely one of the throwers of the football. But before we get into the recaps, we want to talk about something that's fresh. We're going to be grading some coaching hires. I wanted to start with we're going to talk with Sean Payton because that's obviously a big one. Russell Wilson
A rare one.
gets arguably. I mean, he played with Pete Carroll for a while, but he's arguably the best coach he ever had. Offensively, at least, I would say offensively, definitely. How many people can draw up a better defense than Pete Carroll? But I personally give this move. I like to say a B plus because I don't think Sean Payton is in. They're not in any rush to be like, all right, go take us to the Super Bowl right now.
Next year, they're gonna be like, you get a year, and then it's in a year.
I think they give up a pick for him, and I think they imagine he'll be around because there are several coaches who didn't want to be in this situation. So I'm assuming that Sean Payton is coming into the situation with a different idea of like he's like like obviously every coach wants to go out win a Super Bowl. I mean Sean Payton, you've seen this Saints team this year. They were horrible, and the fact that he almost drug that team to the playoffs last year, it was absolutely remarkable. I think him and Russell Wilson can do good things. I think they're a candidate for the playoffs. No Super Bowl. They are a win now with the moves they've made. But I think it's not bad. What was it? It was a 29th pick and
Sean Payton
and
made
2024
Drew
second.
Brees at the age of 38, 39 serviceable. So I don't want to hear
More than serviceable. Made him a Pro Bowl level quarterback. And yeah, while Drew was still obviously has the intangibles of, getting the ball out fast. He had like an okay arm, but everyone knows him last couple of years of Brees. I mean, it was almost the same as that last year of Manning, where his arm was just shot, man. It was bad.
He couldn't put the ball down 20 yards downfield.
Yeah.
People call him MT Slant Boy because that's all they could run.
Exactly. Like you couldn't really put the ball deep downfield. But I do give Sean Payton credit for drawing up incredible offenses. He just has like 7 of the worst ways to go out in the playoffs with the Vernon Davis catch and the pass interference, the Vikings in overtime, the Vikings Stephon Diggs. Yeah, he's went out bad a lot of times. But I think with this Broncos team, I think he can net them. They went 5-12 this year. I think he can net them 3 wins alone, and if they're able to their cap situation is pretty bad, but if they can ride off the momentum they had at the end of the year, and just try to get Russell Wilson back to his play style. He tried to do a lot this year, and then the line wasn't there, the quick game wasn't there. Just make things easy for him.
Considering they won 12 games, that is a heck of a job by the players. Because
who are we talking
I
about?
thought they won like 2.
Who are we talking? Are we talking about the Broncos? Are you referring to last year?
Mm-hmm.
They went 5. They went 5-12, and
considering they went 5-12, I would have thought they won like 2 games. I legit thought they.
Well, they lost. They lost. There is a stat out there. I think they get like 8 more wins. Not 8 more wins. They get 8 to 9 wins, I believe. I'm not sure. Someone will have to fact check me on it. But 8 to 9 wins if they simply just put up 20 points. Like if they average 20 points, they might be in the playoffs.
When it's crazy, they played the worst game of football I've ever seen in my life when they played the Colts. That was the worst game of football I've ever watched.
Yeah, this is not one you can lose. Same. I mean, the Rams, like they got blown out, but like that was just their season summed up. I mean, offense it couldn't get anything going. But I think we both agree. Oh, I have a B plus for this hire. Sean Payton I think he can net them a couple wins, maybe try to get them into the playoffs. But he's there long term, I think. I truly think he's there to build something because he knows the situation.
I give it a solid B. I'm not a fan of trading draft capital.
It was a 29th pick, so
Yeah, I know.
is it really because that player you pick is not going to come in and change the franchise. So,
Never
no,
know.
not going to happen.
TJ Watt was the 29th pick, right?
You guys haven't won a playoff game with him on the roster yet, have you?
No, we had not.
Okay, is he? I mean, look, he's amazing and one of the best players in football, but we're talking about flipping around the Broncos here, not flipping around all-time winning organization Pittsburgh Steelers. A little different.
True.
But moving on, obviously the next one, D'Amico Ryans. I think the Texans hit this out of the park. D'Amico Ryans wants to be there, turned down several jobs to be there, and he's got just a fresh situation. He can rebuild everything up from the ground up in the draft. He'll probably get the quarterback of his choice, whether it be Young or Stroud or if he wants Levis, anyone trade back at Levis, whatever they want, man. And I think you got some pieces on defense. You got obviously young Stingley. And the defense, there were some bright spots there. It's really the offense that really needs to make some moves, get things going. But I would give this an A+. Good hire for Houston, and congrats to D'Amico Ryans getting out of San Fran before it implodes.
If somehow the Texans can trade up to number 1 to get Bryce Young, or the Bears to stand pat, Houston will be a really, really good team in 2 years. Like, they're going to be a Super Bowl contender.
I don't know about Super Bowl contender in 2 years when the conference is absolutely loaded. You're going to need a little more than a good quarterback. And the Chargers.
It's just going to be them head-to-head with the Jags for.
Well, the Jags are only going to get better from here. Trevor Lawrence obviously had his breakout year. They're adding.
For whatever reason, the Texans own the Jags.
They don't. They beat them by 7 earlier in the year, and then got absolutely whomped next time they played. But I do agree. I think they'll be really. They could be really good in 2 years as the defense continues to develop. I think they'll stand pat and probably end up taking Stroud or Young. There's a lot of concerns on Young's size, so maybe they do end up still. Whoever trades up might get Stroud, and then they get to stay with Young. Or if they're feeling maybe a different quarterback, trade back, maybe get Anthony Richardson, who I think maybe fits the timeline of like, all right, we're not going to be good for a year or two. Let's be patient with him. Give him a year or two and let him develop. Is D'Amico Ryans the guy to develop a quarterback? I don't know. But if he can, bring in a guy who can help develop Richardson, I'm very excited for the Texans' future, just as you are. Super Bowl contenders in 2 years, not sure. Because again, AFC's loaded with like
2 to 3 years. 2 to 3.
Maybe.
I think they could turn the worst team in the league back to a playoff contender in 2 years.
By that time, Mahomes will be hosting his 8th straight AFC Championship game, and yeah, by that point, people will realize he's the greatest.
And Mahomes and Hurts will be 3-time Super Bowl contenders back to back to back.
We'll win this one. Chiefs will get the next one, and then it's best 2 out of 3, so it's only right the end.
Y'all got tired of Cavs Warriors. You're gonna get tired of Eagles Chiefs.
Get used to the Texas boys. But instead of hopping to Hurts, we're gonna hop to Mahomes' game against the Cincinnati Bengals. We're not going to be talking any ref crap. We're going to actually talk about the game. Refs have nothing
shut your mouth, jabroni.
Exactly. Like if you lose a close game, look back to what you did wrong. 2 interceptions, dead offense for relatively like 75% of the game.
And a third interception was called back.
Exactly. And you guys couldn't keep MVS from racking up 100+ yards and a touchdown. I'm not blaming y'all for not having an answer for Travis Kelce. Because no one does, but you didn't have an answer for Travis Kelce. Your offensive line just left Joe Burrow hanging out to dry. Chris Jones had an absolute baller of a game.
Bro, they moved Chris Jones to play edge.
Exactly, and he can win from everywhere. That's why he's one of the best in the game. I think my 3 D-line disruptors in the game, obviously, I have a healthy TJ Watt at 1. He's, oh my God, he's phenomenal. I think I would have Chris Jones at 2. Like, I truly think I'd have Chris Jones at 2 right now. because he can win from everywhere. He's so impactful. He takes on double teams, and then when you get him on the edge, you can't double him. And
Who's your third though?
Who's my third? I want to say Myles Garrett because I know it wasn't that loud this year, but I still think his physical prowess.
I don't think it's. It has to be top 5, man. Like you're leaving off.
Yeah, like them guys are.
You're leaving off Hassan Reddick and Micah Parsons and Bosa. Come on,
Hassan Reddick has 3.5 sacks in 2 games. Bosa has 0. Which I'm not trying to make like an agenda for Hassan Reddick, defensive player of the year. I just want him to get his respect. And he drops. Bosa played 3 games. Reddick played 2. Yep. And I don't know. Credit to Lane Johnson though. But back to the Bengals Chiefs. Burrow turned the ball over. He threw an interception. When his, I won't say this first one's his fault because the receiver beat his guy up the seam and then he cut back out. DB didn't go. Burrow thought he was staying up the seam. Interception. Next one, throws it deep. It gets batted up in the air and then intercepted. Could you sit here you're like, oh, it was batted up and then picked off. The Chiefs defender batted it. Like the Chiefs defender would have got a pass breakup anyway. So he made a heads up play, batted it up in the air, and his guy came down with it. Not a smart play. Neither. I mean, I would say one's half Burrow, one's kind of all Burrow, with a little bit of luck. But
yeah, so I just have some issues, man. People were trying to make all these thoughts about, this would have changed the game. This, and this. Man, open your eyes. Joe Burrow had the ball with 1:35 left. Chris Jones.
2:30. 2:30 left, I think. He had 2 timeouts, 2-minute warning. And yeah, tell me what happened. Tell me
Chris
exactly.
Jones gets a third down sack, forces them to punt. Mahomes gets the ball back with just over a minute, leads the team down after a Sky Moore return. Okay, you could say they missed a call for blocking the back. You don't think Mahomes is getting 20 yards with an extra? I don't hear that.
Yeah, it was already nearly poor time management from Andy Reid, and he'll say, "Oh, you can't call that unnecessary roughness. Like refs can't decide the game." I'm like, dude, Patrick Mahomes has played this whole game on a high ankle sprain. He's running towards the sideline. What makes you think in your right mind that he's gonna jog near the sideline and then sprint back upfield? You gotta slow down. I know it's bang bang. I know it's in your mind hard to slow down once you get near him. You can't touch him. I know he didn't mean to, but you can't do it. The Bengals and the 49ers too. They bit themselves in they shot themselves in the foot, bit themselves in the ass with dumb penalties, and they're like, oh, the refs, and then the refs didn't call this holding, and I'm like, dude, Max Crosby, am I thinking the right name? Max Crosby. No. That sounds like the that's the Packers kicker.
No, Max Crosby's the Raiders defensive end, bro.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, I'm thinking of different. There's so many legendary Crosbys, but Raiders defensive end, Max Crosby. He said he was like, I'll never be that guy to complain about holding. I get held every single play. It's just how egregious is it to call. I think a holding penalty that is bang bang, that's when you don't you let him play. But unnecessary roughness, you got to call it. You call it in the first quarter, you got to call it in the fourth quarter. Refs have been catching strays all weekend, starting with the Celtics-Lakers game. Look, they're human, and they got to try their best.
Only thing I say is, we want to change it back to where you can challenge a penalty. You can challenge
they would have lost. I think they would have lost that, because that's the thing. You can only challenge the actual flag. You can't challenge that unnecessary roughness. You were going to lose anyway.
You can't challenge it not being there.
But I'm saying they have to throw the flag for you to challenge it. You can't challenge something that wasn't there. Exactly.
That's why I just don't want to hear it, man. It's a horrible agenda. Every single play of every football game has someone that's holding for a brief freeze frame. If you want to screenshot, just grow up, understand football.
They'll pull this egregious screenshot. I'm like, oh, how about we watch the clip and see what happened? But moving on to Niners Eagles, I'm going to lift off plenty of reasons outside of Brock Purdy getting hurt as to why the Niners had no shot. Number one, they knocked out Brock Purdy. And why was that? You sent a backup tight end to block Hassan Reddick, who has 18 and a half sacks, including the postseason. Number two, Josh Johnson got knocked out because you decided to send George Kittle, who completely whiffed on Hassan Reddick. And he hit Josh Johnson. He banged his head on the turf. Number three, Kyle Shanahan. Why didn't you challenge the Smitty catch on fourth down? The dude got up and clearly said on the ball, why didn't you do anything? Hafunga, I will never pronounce his name and I apologize for that. But he was saying it was incomplete. Shanahan didn't move. Bro froze. So that's 3 Niners-related problems as to why they weren't going to win. Here's a fourth. You were holding the Eagles to 3.4 yards per carry, but you were making the dumbest penalties possible. And all of these were, and whoever was on the call announcing the game, like they said it themselves, all these penalties are warranted. You guys are, like, I get it. You guys are getting frustrated. Every time the Eagles touch the ball, they're on the other side of the field already because of turnovers. But dumb penalties is not going to fix that. And to top it all off, the punter pins Philly inside their own 10. Late third quarter. Niners are down 21-7. Are they realistically going to make a comeback? No, they had no quarterback to that point. But the Eagles, absolutely miraculous drive filled with Hurts short passes, Hurts runs, and all this stuff finished off with a Hurts QB sneak. And Bosa, nowhere to be found. Fred Warner had an okay game, was moving gingerly, nowhere to really be found. Credit to Jimmy Ward and Chardavius Ward. They had pretty good games. Outside of that, that Niners defense, they can be a reason to blame. You can't say, oh, you only won because like Purdy and Johnson got knocked out. I'm like, well, they got knocked out off of your bad coaching. Rare Shanahan mistake.
I'll tell you this right now. Fred Warner looks slow because he's making the wrong read all game because Jalen Hurts is there pulling a read option.
Well, he's not the read option guy. He was moving that way because he got banged up on the first play. So he was a little late to react. I will say that. I agree with you there. He was a little late to react. And to be quite honest, he never played at Jalen Hurts.
No, they played Marcus Mariota and Fields and they lost to them. And
well, neither of them can throw like Jalen Hurts. And none of them run as tough as Jalen Hurts.
Man, Justin Fields runs just fast.
No, he's electric. He's probably a harder tackle than Jalen Hurts. But what I'm saying is like Jalen Hurts is
he'll hit you and you'll fly back.
Yeah, like he's the most dangerous, like one of the most dangerous quarterbacks like in the league because of the triple option, not like read and then pitch. It's read and then maybe pitch, or I'm gonna throw it to AJ. Like he's very, very dynamic. And they caught Bosa in the blender a lot because of that, because he was trying to play both. They're like, oh yeah, he's Nick Bosa. He could definitely play Hurts and Kenneth Gainwell, or Hurts and Miles Sanders at the same time, and it's not true. Which shout out to Lane Johnson, who is a torn adductor, and Nick Bosa was just nowhere to be found.
Man, the parallels between Kenneth Gainwell and Corey Clement are insane.
I disagree heavily. Actually, I don't think Kenny plays anything like Corey Clement. I think he plays
he doesn't play like him. I'm just saying, like
he's just the back. He's just
random backup.
He's not a random backup. Everybody knows Kenny Gainwell, and I think
everyone knew Clement, though.
Okay, everyone knows Corey Clement. I mean, the Eagles back then, they had like a true trio of running backs that all split the carries. They all finished between like 700 and 500 yards, but Miles is clearly the workhorse. And then Kenny Gainwell turning up in the playoffs. But Kenny Gainwell plays just like Miles Sanders. They play identical. And then
Boston, because they're not going to pay him.
I mean, if they're not going to, if they don't pay Miles, and you have Kenny who plays the same way, I think they would bring in a third running back, to do their thing. Boston Scott's obviously on the payroll to terrorize the Giants. Bijan Robinson, maybe he's in the options for them as a cheap guy. I would be interested to see what they do with that last pick. Maybe they trade back into the second round and maybe like swap a pick with like whoever has the top pick in the second, and then maybe you can get Bijan's and you don't have to give him a fifth-year option, but
The
and it'll
Steelers?
be a little
Oh,
bit cheaper. I mean, look, Bijan Robinson, Najee Harris is that sounds like a Steelers combo in my book if y'all want to swap. But yeah, Niners shot themselves in the foot. They were losing this game regardless due to several coaching issues. Um, that Shanahan needs to he needs to take the blame for. And if I'm going to be quite honest, I would have probably put McCaffrey quarterback instead of Purdy. At that point, just find someone who used to play quarterback. And
Dewan Johnson was a 4-star quarterback coming into
yeah,
college.
yeah, something, dude. Like you can't throw a guy out there who's going to need Tommy John. It might be out for a year. It's updated. A 6 to 9 month recovery for his surgery is unlikely. They said so. He's out for a year, and with Brady retiring, it's officially Trey Lance season. Everyone knows OG Trey Lance supporter. I thought he was going to be a top 10 quarterback this year. That didn't happen, but
I've been told the scriptwriters really just got this one right. Give Lance a shot.
exactly. If you watch the Bears game in the first half of the next game
Of the monsoon.
yeah, even in the monsoon, he was making exceptional throws. He was making good decisions, and the playbook is completely different. Like I seen a tweet saying that like the playbook's a little more open with Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. I'm like, no, it's not. It's condensed with Jimmy G and Brock Purdy because they aren't Trey Lance. They don't have the arm talent. They don't have the running ability. Trey Lance expands this thing. Like I think you said this a couple of times with Jimmy G and Brock Purdy. This offense is the Niners offense. But if you put Trey Lance back there, it could be the Eagles offense.
You're
Where
the
you can
Chiefs
run these
offense, man.
it could be I don't know about the Chiefs offense, but but because I don't know if you could really replicate because Patrick Mahomes running this same offense that Alex Smith has been for years, and it looks amazing. It's just, but as years go on, you realize Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT.
Wait, do you remember when Alex Smith had that long touchdown run? Like
Against
60 yards?
ah? I feel like it's not. Maybe was it with Chiefs or Niners?
We were the Chiefs.
I don't know. I did not remember that. Remember that time Terrell Pryor went 90 plus yards on the Steelers? That was insane.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Sorry to touch a nerve there, but we're talking QB runs and yeah. But
I'm
again,
sorry. It was
Eagles
a 70 rush, but he didn't score a touchdown.
who? Alex Smith?
Yeah.
Like that time Daniel Jones almost had an 80-yard touchdown and they tripped over his feet.
Mhm.
So yeah, Niners bit themselves in the foot. Eagles were going to win regardless. I think the same thing with Bengals Chiefs. Mahomes had an absolute legacy masterclass game on the one ankle, and just it was never up for debate in my opinion anyway. But Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. Here's him. Here's everyone else. Duke it out for 2, 3, 4, 5.
What I say
Whatever
is,
you want.
everyone is in the comments of our picks in the weekly on Instagram. I got receipts.
Yeah,
I got receipts.
yeah. So for anybody wondering, we can go. We got a couple more minutes. I want to go into the story time. So Danny, his videos on Instagram Reels go crazy. Like we're talking. One of them got 24,000 views. The other got 5,000 views, and people like would comment like, "Oh, this is wrong. You're so dumb." And he had a Phillies jacket on. He's a Red Sox fan, but like he doesn't really like any Philly sports besides the Sixers. So he got caught by. So like, oh, you
Philly
can't
fan?
wear.
What are you talking about?
You're a Red Sox fan. However, moving on. Um, there's like, oh, you shouldn't wear your city's bias. Like you're showing your colors. I was like, okay. So if he was wearing Niners gear and he picked the Niners, what then? Like it just, and then people were like, oh, you got it wrong. It's gonna be Bengals Niners. Not only did they go over 2, I'm like, okay, who are you to call me wrong? Like I can call you wrong. It's an opinion. Like that's all this is. It is opinion analysis. And like people were like on Danny. First of all, the Giants game was hilarious because people were like, there was a guy. I said, yo, Danny, let me handle this because like I'm actually the Eagles fan. Like I'm gonna argue for Eagles. I'm giving them nothing but stats. I'm like, oh, the Eagles, like the Giants have some of the worst rushing defense. They have some of the worst passing defense. And the guy was saying, he's like, yeah, you're talking out of emotion. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like I'm giving you the facts. And then he lost. And then we were on him for sure. Niners game. Same deal. Well, I mean, they're cool people who be like, oh no, I got like Niners winning. That's my team. Bang bang Niner gang, and I'm like, that's cool. Like you're a fan, I get it. You want your team to win. But there's people who's like, oh, you're so dumb. Stop wearing Philly stuff. I'm like, dude, he's a Steelers fan. Like, oh my god.
Indeed, I am a Steelers fan.
He's a Steelers fan. They're just mad Kenny Pickett's winning the MVP next year.
Kenny Pickett for Offensive Player of the Year.
Oh my god, when he rushes for 2,000 and throws for 2,000.
No. Najee Harris is winning MVP. Kenny's winning Offensive Player of the Year.
That would be some bizarre stuff.
Najee rushing for 3K.
Najee for 3K. Wow.
How many yards a game is that? It's 170 yards a game.
What was it?
175 yards a game.
Yeah, if Najee Harris rushed for 3,000 yards, I don't know. Something I wouldn't do. But with that being said, next week we will probably be doing some all-star drafting and some award picking. Obviously, our episode will come out the day before the NFL honors. So that's what it's probably looking at. We're looking at NFL awards, some Super Bowl preview. We're obviously not going to do it this week. We got some time to let things juice in. And some NBA All-Star, because who doesn't love pickup basketball, as that's how it's going to be drafted this year. Danny, anything to say before we go? Nah,
man, just go Birds. I've been cheering them all postseason. My team didn't get in, so I'm allowed to cheer for a team. I chose a hometown team to cheer for.
We're fine. I'm gonna do this. We're putting up a poll. I'm putting up a poll for this. Look, I'm cool with it because Danny's rocking with my team, so it's not that big a deal. Like he rocks with the Phillies when the Red Sox are out, but we'll put a poll up and we'll settle this debate once and for all if you're allowed to cheer for two teams. But with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure you download, like, and subscribe on whatever platform you like listening to, and make sure you guys have a good day.